This is Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future. Today, we're going to be talking about we're in the transformation now, and everything is changing.
Yes, it has to do with what is happening now and how it's going to affect you.
And how it's going to affect our environment and how we can all prepare for it. And this is not to create fear, it's to bring this information forward that has been given to us by what some would call angels. These beings have identified themselves as the ancients, who are ancient teachers of the Creator. And it's to alert humanity so we can prepare and we understand what's happening.
So it starts with a change in Earth's gaseous atmosphere, changing the gaseous makeup of this area, which changes the geometry of the Earth, changes the mathematical codes, which is extremely important, and changes the vibration.
So our gaseous atmosphere, the way, the percentage of various gases and the bonds that they make in the atmosphere create the geometry, the grid that surrounds the Earth that exists in the atmosphere, and that creates the conditions for the vibration to come forward. And that vibration goes from one side of the Earth to the other. It doesn't radiate out of the Earth. It comes down through the gaseous atmosphere. So if you change that makeup of the gaseous atmosphere, you're going to change how everything else behaves on that given planet.
The important thing here is you change the mathematical codes of this planet, and everything in the universe is based on math and its codes. So with that, the makeup, this mathematical determination and the gaseous makeup determine how life forms in this particular sphere and how they behave.
And that's including the genetics, how the genetics behave and how they express themselves.
Right, because the vibrations affect all organic matter. So we'll see. We're not sure exactly how it's going to change or what the outcome would be, but we will soon find out.
They're trying to dumb this down for us. It's a very complicated culmination of events. And so we're trying to understand it, but there's gaps in the understanding because humanity at this point in time just simply hasn't experienced anything like this. And so we're going to try and make it simple, but if you get anything out of this, there are a culmination of various events taking place in our atmosphere around the Earth that are going to drastically change how organic matter behaves. And that's going to affect our bodies because our bodies are also organic matter.
So this is actually, this Earth is an experimental lab, and we're in an experimental learning field.
And I think, I just want to interject that spiritually, before we were incarnated, we agreed to that. So yes, it may come as a shock to the system to hear us say that, but I think we all knew what we were getting into coming here.
So we all are part of this experimental field. Whether we like it or not, this is what we came here for. Okay, so the cycle and the learning field, which is part of this, has come to an end. This is the cycle end, and the learning of that cycle end, and everything is going to be upgraded. Now, this upgrade to create a new field. So the beginning, the end is the beginning, and it's a brand new field. And the changes are going to be extremely interesting, to say the least, because it will affect some, it will affect different people different ways. I'll put it that way for right now. So it changes the gas and makeup, changes, it creates a genetic consultation within our cells. So allowing the, which we talked about before, the protein markers to be placed on the DNA for the upgrade.
So this change in the DNA is going to allow the body to change in ways, not completely, but it's going to change the chemistry of our bodies by changing the mitochondrial activity. Now, the mitochondria exists within the nucleus of all cells, and it is the powerhouse, what generates energy for all life. And so when you change and upgrade the way that the mitochondria work, then you are increasing the amount of energy output of each cell. And that will subsequently also change the chemistry, particularly relating to neurochemicals. So these are the chemicals that are released from cell to cell, that travel from nerve cell to nerve cell, that carry the messages so that the neurological system is sped up. What does that mean? It means that our brains are going to be able to process information at a much faster rate. And we're going to be able to connect the dots between everything that's going on in the field to see in a more panoramic way.
You guys talked about conceptual thinking, and this will end up processing information at a higher rate, which will end up the conceptual thinking to really begin.
So the conceptual thinking is the ability to connect the dots and many different things, to be able to see correlations between events, people, everything.
And this is going to happen in the whole galactic field. Well, maybe beyond our galaxy, I don't know, but it's moving us all into a higher state, not just Earth itself. So the atmospheric and the disturbances from a different neutron explosion we've talked about from before brings in the particles from the cosmos.
And then there's also increased solar activity. We're also entering into this photon belt. And there's other things going on. There's vibration that's being brought in and mathematical codes that the creator released, that all of these things are working in synchronicity.
Including gamma particles.
Right, the gamma particles that change DNA.
And it'll shift the electric magnetic field, which when the electromagnetic field shifts, the orbital change will shift also, and which creates the axis shift. So all these are related together. The electromagnetic field, the orbital change, and the axis change. These are all related to each other.
Everything is interconnected. So you have this particle field coming in from outside. It has a kind of a radiation element to it. You have solar activity, you have the photon belt vibration. There's also these tones that they talk about that also are creating a vibration. Everything is going to work collaboratively to radically change our world as we know it. At a molecular level, it changes the electromagnetic field. The electromagnetic poles will shift, the orbit will shift, and lastly, I think, is the shift of the axis, which will be closer to 0 instead of 22.5 degrees now.
So all these will create dispersion in the atmospheric gases and be dispersed throughout the sphere. Now we're just talking about Earth right now. So the atmospheric pressures, this will cause the atmospheric pressure to rise. The huge, which will relate into more lightning occurring within the
It
atmosphere.
looks kind of like, the way that they're describing it is like lightning.
Yeah, it's like lightning. I'm not sure if it's just
It's a big light
flashes,
event.
yeah. And
It's global
it's
though.
electrical discharges
Mhm.
between the density of the atmospheric gases and the electromagnetic field.
And this creates a massive shift in the tectonic plates when it happens. So we're going to see these waves of light globally, flashes of light, and then that is going to interact with the tectonic plates
Which
and
creates coastal movement.
creates crustal movement. Yeah.
Where we talked about this before, the crust and the coast of all these different continents will shift.
And even there will be continental drift, and they talked about hills collapsing and
Yeah.
mountains rising, a lot of
volcanic
movement.
activity, a lot of movement within the earth itself.
Mhm.
And all these things on volcanic activity, earthquakes, etc., all this movement will release gases
That are
in the
the
earth
earth.
and release them to the outside. So a cosmic rupture will occur that allows a pressure release.
So the way they described it was like this outside atmospheric disturbance that's coming in to the
Putting
field,
pressure
and
on
it's putting pressure on the whole system. If you think of you're filling a balloon with air,
Mhm.
and the outside perimeter, which is the balloon, is containing that atmosphere within the balloon, is putting a lot of pressure on the inside of the balloon. And you keep putting more and more pressure on it by blowing more air into it. Eventually, there's going to be a weak spot that creates a rupture, and you're going to have a release that happens, and with that, a pressure release,
which creates high
and
winds.
and then the air comes out of the balloon. It comes out in a force of wind.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way I would describe what has been shown to us.
Yeah. So
on a global level.
Yeah. So a Nicolloid crystalline planetary mass enters our system, according to what we've been told, interrupting the gravitational field and the shifting of the Earth's orbit.
So I think a lot of these things are going to be happening. There's a certain sequence that they describe that it has to be done in a certain way. Everything is synchronized. They don't think of, outside entities don't think of time like we think of time, associated with a clock or a watch or the calendar. And in fact, they've told us that our calendar is off. The Gregorian calendar is off. And so they don't give us dates. And I would be very suspicious of anyone who gives dates. However, what we have found is that astrology tells us approximately when these things can occur, when the opening occurs for these things to happen.
She said can occur, not exactly will occur. So we have to basically wait and see. So it'll create the ocean waters will begin to shift to stabilize all this. And the oceans will return to its point of antiquity.
So you can expect where the oceans move to, where oceans existed millions of years ago. So the one thing that we have mentioned before, because we're very familiar with the area, is like Utah used to be a sea there, and that was like 180 million years ago. They still have the salt beds. They have the Salt Lake.
Well, in Colorado, sharks' teeth, it's 7,000 feet. I mean,
yeah, and if you really want to know like a map of the at least the United States and maybe globally, it was who was it? Gordon Michael Scallion created a map, which is what our guides had said was very similar to
Well, the
the
Navy,
original plan.
Person by the last name of Troy, I think that was her name. Also, the U.S. Navy.
Lori Toy.
Lori Toy.
Yeah.
And also, the U.S. Navy created its own map, which
Yes.
is very close.
And so the shifting oceans enable the, after the Earth shifts in its orbit, enables everything to stabilize in that orbit. And keep in mind that all these things have to happen because everything is out of balance at this time. And so from time to time, these things have to occur in order to reinstate balance within the universe, within the galaxy, within Earth, and because we live on the Earth within ourselves too.
Yeah. So with that, we talk about subatomic particles that will separate and deteriorate, affecting the atomic structure of this Earth and everything within it. So then a new vibration will occur and creates a change affecting all life on this sphere. Humanity will begin to process information at approximately 4 times the density that we're able to do right now.
And I think we need to clarify the term, the use of density, which is the way that the ancients described it to us. And you have to think about the thought process and how many thoughts that you can generate in your thinking process in a given amount of time. And so when you compress that and you can pack more thoughts into that space of time, then your thoughts and your thinking process becomes much more dense. And that's the visual or the conceptual thinking that they're trying to impart.
So we'll have more energy.
Yes.
Yeah. And there'll be more energy, there'll be less medical problems, and the bodies will function more effectively. And then we will be ready to meet other entities in our universe.
And the reason why our physical bodies have to change is because that reconnection with our star brothers and sisters is going to be occurring. And yet this physical body is not able to process information as efficiently, and we're not able to think conceptually like they do. So they're going to be teaching us once that connection happens, and they communicate telepathically. So our bodies have to be upgraded in order to, one, be able to communicate telepathically, but also we have to be able to understand that information and think conceptually like they do.
In other words, you're saying we're laggards right now.
We are, yeah.
But this reconnection will happen with other beings. That's what's kind of exciting when we stand ready. So this change will be dignified. It is a new innocence will prevail.
The corruption is going to be pushed out.
Yeah, mankind, all this truth is coming out. The corruption is beginning. This all is beginning now, as we can see it.
Mm-hmm.
The corruption is beginning to come forward and take effect. And
it's like they're shining the light on it right now.
Yeah. So it helps stabilize this learning lab. So the changing atmosphere creates a balance for some people, but it creates an imbalance for others.
And I think once you start to really look around at the behavior of people, and you're seeing such a vast schism between behaviors. You have some that are becoming more balanced, and they're able to think in a more common sense sort of way. And then you have others who their thinking process is very connected right now. And so the changing atmosphere is having an impact on people, and it's creating kind of two different paradigms here on Earth as far as how we're processing information, how we're thinking, and how we're behaving. And then also the electromagnetic field, when it is shifting, it creates an impact on people also, where
It's magnifying their ideological ideas or stance.
Yeah, it magnifies ideology.
But their ideologies was
It's they have the existing ideology there, but because our bodies are electromagnetic, they are interfacing with the Earth's electromagnetic field, and it's magnifying the existing ideology that they already possess. So between these two things, we're seeing a lot of illogical behaviors, and I think a lot of people see that.
Yeah, well, all these changes we understand creates a profound stress in the human race. And we can see that all around us, accentuated by the imbalanced people and more actuated ideologies. It increases their ideologies, and we can see the outcome of what's happening now. So it's going to take about 10, 15 years to go through this
difficult time.
Yeah.
A lot of changes coming, and it's stressful to everyone. And so I think what we need to do is one, we can pay attention to the changes that we are feeling within our own bodies, and the mentors have told us that the atmosphere is changing now as we speak. And so it is all beginning. So we can start looking for the changes within our own bodies, where we might feel odd sensations, especially in the legs, because the legs are closer to the earth. And so as the vibration in the atmosphere changes Earth's vibration, we have to work to connect with the earth so that our vibration can also change. It's not just automatic. We have to really work at it.
This affects the weather patterns and the ocean patterns and all these different things. So as you can see, things are definitely changing. So the changes allow humanity to shift to a higher level of consciousness, not all humanity. So we gain access to universal knowledge and a telepathic exchange of information, which we will learn telepathy.
And keep in mind, these are galactic changes, and that when you're talking about atmospheric changes in the galaxy, the life force field is projected through that. So it's going to affect the way that we feel energetically,
and the way we behave.
And the way we behave. But before all these changes take effect, you may feel really tired. Instead of feeling energetic, you may feel really drained. And that is all part of it. And for unknown reasons, like you've gotten all your rest and you're eating healthy, and you don't really have a significant amount of stress in your life, but boy, I feel drained. Well, maybe it's because of these galactic atmospheric changes that are occurring.
So this begins a higher level of consciousness. This will bring humanity together as one, which we have been separated for many, 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 many years. And circumventing the age of lies and deceit will pass.
Yeah, and that's what the ancients had called it. This learning cycle has been the age of lies and deceit. And so we have to recognize that as the truth comes forward, a lot of people are resistant to
the truth,
because they're so bought into what we've been told is the truth. And it's quite different. They tell us, our mentors tell us that that we don't even know the truth because the truth doesn't exist anymore. So we have to really open our minds and work at trying to even contemplate something new. Along with this, we're going to see the ability for precognition to develop. And so humanity might start to get the sense of, we feel an event impending. Something is coming, and we may or may not really understand what that event might be, but we all are in agreement that we feel like something is happening here.
So this whole experiment has now come to an end, and we begin to develop a new system. So with that, new species are born, higher intelligence, etc., and they tend to be aligned to this new Earth, which is developing.
Because everything has to fit within a certain vibrational parameter to exist here. So if the old vibrational pattern is antiquated and is dying, well, we're shifting away from it. It still exists, but we're shifting away from it, and we're moving into a new vibrational paradigm and new parameters. So if you think of it in like music and octaves, we're moving up an octave, and everything's got to be in tune with that octave. And that includes the biology and how our bodies function. But that also means that all the critters of the world have to match too. So we're going to see some species that become extinct while we'll have new species evolve.
Yes.
Of all things.
This is going to be a time of great stress for those that don't understand. It's extremely important that we align with the changes instead of resisting them, because resistance will cause more fear, more anxiety, more stress, etc.
Fighting.
So,
yeah.
So align to the new vibration of the Earth by spending time in nature, going out in the forest, sitting on a rock or whatever, and contemplating your being here.
And the reason why we say nature is that everything natural in the natural field vibrates at a higher vibration. And so what we want to do is expose our biological bodies to that higher vibration, so we have the ability to assimilate it and shift upward.
Yeah. And above all, create a network of like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we shall go win this new change and help it along. But we can't, if you resist it.
It's going to be very detrimental to our
detrimental.
physical bodies if we resist it.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, there's going to be, with all the earth changes, if you look at the maps like Gordon Michael Scallion's map, Lori Toy's map, the Navy map, that might help guide you to a better location than where you are now. And then also listen to your gut feeling and your own intuition as to what feels right for you.
Yes, but trying to bring like-minded thinking people into your realm.
Yes, because you create a support system there. Instead of being berated by people who don't agree with the way you think, you're joining others who think alike, and it creates a much more supportive system. If you are interested and don't have it, we have 2 books on Amazon under the Augmentation of Man. The first one is A Study in Renaissance. You want the second edition. I don't think the first edition is even available, but this describes the purpose of creation in all beings. It bridges the worlds of math, science, spirituality, astrology, or astronomy. It defines the light, oneness, universal consciousness, The NeuroNet explains what the NeuroNet is, and Source, which is your information networks that exist in the universal consciousness and how that works, and introduces universal laws and concepts, describes the dimensions, chakras, karma, because like we said, information, we don't have the truth anymore. So man tends to add to, like, the story, The Big Fish, man tends to add to the story. And after a while, it's not even correct. It doesn't even mirror the information that was originally given.
Catches a fish this big, and by the time the stories are done, the fish is this big.
Yeah. The second one is The Acquiescence of Humanity, and this is all about humanity's existence, how we came to be here on planet Earth, our previous connections to extraterrestrial beings who were here at the time, the new genetic upgrades that are happening, the confirmation of the planet Nibiru or Planet X and what impact that will have on the Earth, the relevance of December 21st, 2012, and more. And both books go into where we're going consciously and all the changes for man and the Earth.
And the changes we just talked about.
So if you want to know more, you can get those books, and you can join us on YouTube. All our past videos are still good. We're also on Rumble, BitChute, Brighteon, and Spotify.
Okay.
There you have it. You have it all.
With that, thank you for being with us.
And as always, peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Have a great day.
Have a great week.